Hi everybody, welcome to this Music Mentor series. My name is Brandon from Guitar Center. I'm here today with Nal from ADJ. Edgar, how you doing today?
Brandon?
So, right in time for the season of lights, you know, with Halloween and everything, we're going to kind of break down all of the lights that we got, all the kinds of lights that you might encounter. And one of the confusing parts about lighting is some of the confusing terminology that people are going to use. And this is going to be great for me because I'm more of a lighting novice, hopefully like some of our viewers. So before we get into it, tell me a little bit about ADJ and a little bit about what we're talking about.
All right, great. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad people are watching because ADJ is a company that manufactures many different fixtures, many different types of moving head, lasers, gobo projectors, pretty much you name it, any kind of lighting you're trying to do for any event, and we'll have something that'll fulfill your needs. And so pretty much what I did here is some of our key features and fixtures that can accomplish those needs for you. Some of them differ, as you can see, so we're going to try to go over all the different types of ways. That
it does. We are here live in the showroom, so there's so many lights like alive and breathing. It seems you guys have a wide array of different kinds on the table here. So, tell me a little bit about what we're going to be talking about as we go down the line.
All right, so first we're going to talk about uplighting. Lighting is getting very popular, no matter what type of event you're doing. If you can uplight a stage, if you can uplight a room, it's a great way to create, a live environment with beautiful colors into a room to transform, just a plain white room into something that's maybe pink or a blue.
So when you're saying uplighting, you literally just mean kind of lights that point up, or what are you talking about when you say uplighting?
Exactly. So that's just it. We have lights that can sit on the floor, and you can put them close to a wall. We'll talk about beam angles. We'll talk about spreads. We'll talk about all these different types of LEDs we have. Uplighting is the term when you have a room, you want to spread color throughout that room. It can also mean for columns, truss. You can put lighting inside of truss and do what we call truss warming, and as well as all of our lights can also be used for stage washing. So now you're talking about when you set these lights up, maybe on a truss above a stage, and you're lighting a stage area, a band, a DJ, whatever it may be, just to fill color, so the audience can see that as it's happening around them and happening to the artists that they may be watching. So just really cool stuff.
Great. What's the next one we're going to be talking about?
Then we'll talk about a little bit of, the holidays are around us now. So you have everything from, gobo projector. You can project things like Happy Halloween, ghost characters, Happy New Year, things like that, very simply. We also have a UV, which is very awesome, one of my favorites. UV is popular, throughout the year, whether it's Halloween time or also to make, when people have those, everyone dresses up as white and they just want to see their clothes shine with the UV. So there's many different applications for UV. And so this is one of the ones we'll cover today. And as well as DMX. DMX is something that I know a lot of guys that are getting into lighting may be still a little scared of to get into, but we're going to cover that.
DMX is like voodoo, people just don't understand what it is and swear away from it and just go by the features that they might have, with the light sound chasing or what have you. So let's dive right in.
All right, sounds good. All right, so the first fixture we're going to talk about, Brandon, is the different types of LEDs that there are. So first, what we have here, this is our ADJ Mega Go Flood bar, and this is actually a battery fixture, which is nice. It has a lithium battery built in, so if I wanted to unplug and just move this around the room, I could do so. But what this has, you'll notice the LEDs on here look a little bit different, and this is a surface mount diode, which we call an SMD LED, and the purpose for that is you actually get a wider wash. So if you're familiar with, when you have a flashlight or something like that, you'll see a beam that comes out of the light, and that's how you can see ahead of you. So what they've done with different types of LED fixtures is they've actually changed the lens So imagine if you change the lens on a flashlight, now you don't have a beam, but you have a wider spread. You'd be seeing that now with like LED flashlights.
Yeah.
You know, as you turn that on, and you could see almost like a 10-foot kind of circle.
Gives you the wide instead of just the focused beam.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's great about lighting now. So by going back to the SMD, by using this kind of chip on a fixture, this actually gives this a 120-degree beam angle. So just imagine 120 degrees, now you're getting that much coverage. So something like this will be great for maybe if you have a facade, something like a DJ facade. This, let's say you wanted to add color to your whole drum set, but you didn't want to have just a specific hotspot. You can have this, and now you're having color throughout the whole set.
Or your amp cabinet, or even yourself. The wash is still pretty strong, so if you put this in front of the monitor that you were going to be listening to as a guitar, you could stand on it and kind of have that washing your whole body up, and that'd be kind of cool too.
Exactly, and you know, it's nice to know also that it's, you know, battery operated, because, you know, a lot of times when we're sitting down from the gigs, it's already dark, and maybe you don't have a light on in the venue or something like that. If you have one of your battery fixtures,
sometimes it's hard to take your phone out and do whatever you got to do to get a flashlight on. So you just be able to click that thing on.
So something with the white wash,
light up your whole van or something.
Plenty of color and everything. So what this one has is, you just see the blue here, but it does have red, green, and blue LEDs. The very tiny little chips. So when it's actually doing the color mixing, it's very smooth and makes for great color mixing. So what that is pretty much, you know, if you have a red to a blue to a green, instead of just seeing snaps, it's actually going to be fading.
Blends them.
Yeah, so from red to green, you'll see a yellow. From green to blue, you'll see kind of like an orange kind of color or something like that. So this is the SMD. Next, we'll talk about...
Now, in the field of kind of lighting, what is that kind of light? What, you know, we've talked about uplighting and gobos and stuff. What kind of light is that?
This I would consider more of like an area kind of light.
Okay.
To where, you know, it's not going to throw as far as, let's say, something that we'll talk about next, but it is going to have a wider wash without any kind of hot spot. So even for a performer, let's say I was a jazz soloist, if I put one of these in front of, you know, a hot spot on me, to see any other color anywhere else. But if I had something smooth like this, any color that I desire, project on the whole area with that wide wash. So now you have a nice color without any kind of hot spot, no sweating, it's LED, it's cool.
That is one thing I love about the LED lights. I mean, we're standing up here, and if these were incandescent, we'd both be sweating buckets. And I'm actually comfortable right now, even though it's really hot outside.
Yeah.
I'm feeling comfortable. So, you know, that's one huge benefit of LED. It's not just for owners, you know, reduces your air conditioning bill or what have you, but for the people, the performers to go to that club where you go to a show and it's all, you know, 90 degrees, they don't have any windows, and you feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that. So tell me about the next light we're going to be talking about.
All right, so the next one here, this is one of our, you'll see this at all of our trade shows, and you see many lighting guys using this also. It's our Wi-Fi Par QA5. This is actually the pearl version of one in a black housing. But what this is actually using, Brandon, is 1 watt quad LEDs. So right now you just see the amber on. It has green, blue, and amber LEDs in each one of these cells. So what's nice about that is all the little 1 watt LEDs are all inside. So if you're doing any kind of color mixing, once again, it's going to look very nice since they're all inside of one diode or one cell. When it's color mixing, you're not going to see any kind of color on the wall or whatever you're projecting onto. So for color mixing, it's very nice. And once again, since these are 1 watt LEDs, now you're talking about a much larger throw. So going back to uplighting, if I needed to uplight a room, maybe ceilings, if I was lighting a stage, maybe the ceiling was 14 feet, stage is about 14 feet away, I can use something like this because it's going to have the power, it's going to have the colors that I'm looking for. And once again, with color mixing, it makes it a great option because you're not going to be seeing snaps of colors.
So now you said Wi-Fi. Was that so? Are these things Wi-Fi?
Yeah. So our Wi-Fi products is a proprietary Wi-Fi, which is DMX, and so now cables have a Wi-Fi controller, and with Wi-Fi products, I can now control everything wirelessly.
Now I'm noticing that from here, you're running the DMX into kind of these other lights that we have on the right here. So not only that, but you can kind of program from this one to the other ones, and I don't know if they're all on their Wi-Fi or if they're all just running off the cable and this is the only wireless one.
Right now, I'm using the standard DMX mode just to show, because since it is Wi-Fi, you're not just held to that. So you can actually still use it as a regular DMX fixture and also a regular plug-in fixture.
So it's not one or the other, it kind of goes both ways. That's pretty powerful.
Exactly, and what's nice about this too is having wireless DMX. Let's say I was just lighting a certain area around me, maybe on my facade. I could use this for the wireless DMX and transmit the signal maybe to one of my other fixtures. So I can use this as my transmitter and receiver all in one. So it just makes great options. Whatever kind of lighting event I'm doing, I can use this just to send signal, whether it's through cable or wirelessly.
That sounds pretty great, and it feels like it's pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to it, and that's probably another one of the beauties of LED. As an incandescent, it'd be 90 pounds and nobody would want to carry it.
Exactly, and about it too, just like you mentioned about incandescent lighting, is now with Pars, you don't have to worry about gels anymore. And if you remember with high power Par cans, those gels might melt over time. Your blue kind of looks like a light blue, greens don't look more, just kind of melts, burns through the gel. And now with this, you have no worries. Mixing is great on this. You can pretty much get blue and amber. But one thing to notice or note about this is there is actually a gel frame holding kit that's included with this fixture here. And the is when you look at this, I know it probably won't make sense to shine on the camera, but if you ever get a chance to check this out in person, it's called a 30-degree. And so a 30-degree beam angle, if you put this close to a wall, it's going to cover maybe about a 6-foot spread. Now, if you're doing a wall that might be a little bit wider, the use that gel frame holder is to actually put a diffusing gel in there. Diffuser is something that guys might hear about and maybe have questions about, and diffusers are a great way to form the beam that you already have into either a wider beam or a more narrow beam. So there's all kinds of different types of diffusing gels that we make. We have one that'll open this up to a 60-degree beam angle, which is just absolutely awesome. You put it over the wall and now you see an actual 60-degree spread. And
another great thing about it is I'm touching the light essentially right now, and you can't even feel the heat coming off of it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Awesome.
I've burned myself on Par 64, like literally burned. So just to be able to you can kind of trust. You can trust your lights again to not do you harm.
For sure. Yeah. So that's the great thing about this. Battery operated and wireless DMX. No more gels.
Seems like it would be great for even outdoor shows if you had them where you didn't have too much access to power.
Exactly, which is a great point too, because if you're a lighting guy and let's say you're trying to book a lighting gig, this is a great piece to have, because if you're meeting with a client, let's say at the venue where you're trying to get booked, you can bring maybe 4, 8, 12 of these, and now you can set them up if you get there ahead of time and set the color to the room that your client's going to want, and when they walk in, they're seeing what you.
It's really very easy setup to kind of. It's better than a business card. That's like, hey, look, do.
Yeah.
That's pretty sharp. That's pretty sharp.
Take you a few minutes to do that, even if you're meeting at a Starbucks.
So what's the one we're talking about?
All right. So the next one here, this is the next type of LED, which is called a chip or COB. LED, COB LED, what we call it. And the main difference is this actually has a chip where there's a whole bunch of little chips. You have a bunch of greens and blues that are on there. So with this, you actually have much better color mixing since it's all together. If you're mixing from red to green and blue and all that, it's going to look a lot better. And what's also nice about the chip on board, it's a newer kind of LED that we're using, and I'm finding it to be just extremely powerful. Out of that little fixture,
I can't even look at it. It's bright.
And what's nice is this is actually almost kind of like a hybrid, because if you'll notice, I'll shine onto the table here, and you'll notice once again we're talking about that beam angle where it's hitting from here.
Yeah, it's real focused.
And what's nice about this one, this lens, it actually comes with this lens, but it's easily removable just with thumb screws. And check this out now.
And that opens it up super wide.
Yeah. So this is one of those fixtures. Any type of event that you're doing, whatever you're trying to light up, whether it's a narrow area or you're going to need to light a wider area, you have kind of a hybrid fixture that'll be able to do both of that.
I mean, even with just, I mean, you're maybe no more than a foot from the table, and the beam is the size of the light.
Yeah.
You take that screen off, and the beam goes to in the same distance. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's really, really impressive, like you're saying. And so this chip-on-board technology, the COB LEDs, is really taking off now. If you're watching any kind of show on television, whatever it may be, you're seeing a lot of these kind of cells, these kind of like dots kind of things. And what that is now you have these, you know, awesome colors, which you can project any kind of color you want onto there. Grids, we have a Dotz Par, we have a 1x4, these kind of grids that you can piece together, and now with individual pixel control, doing all these cool visuals that you might be seeing at these huge shows or on television, and it's all accomplishable now because of this new type of LED.
You know, we were talking about it before we went live, but it seems like just even in the last decade, the technology for lighting has advanced so fast.
Yeah.
You know, it's a thing to not have to buy bulbs all the time and gels and a huge cost-cutting measure.
Yeah.
But not to mention to be able to use these things for effects or use them in a sense where you can wash different colors. You know, before if you wanted to do red, blue, and green, you had to have a red light, a blue light, and a green light. And now you can just have one light, so it saves so much space on your truss, power.
Exactly.
You know, there's so many benefits on the LED side. I really like the fact that this one comes with that different lens. That really helps justify getting multi-use out of a light instead of just the one and done kind of thing. So, well, what's the next one we're going to be talking about?
All right, so next we'll talk a little bit about, you know, we talked about uplighting, stage lighting, washing a certain area, but now let's talk a little bit about holiday lighting. Holidays coming up, and one of the ones I'll talk about is this guy here. This is
I was talk about the UV Canon, man. That thing.
Yeah, this is the UV COB Canon. So if you look, it's very similar. It's once again that same type of LED. Now this is actually a 100-watt LED. So just to show you, I mean, you're not going to burn yourself, but touch the front of there a little bit, and you do.
It's a little bit warmer,
yeah,
but it's still not, like you said, you're not going to burn yourself.
Yeah.
It's considerably warmer than the little 1-watt guys, but we have 5 1-watt lights versus 100-watt light. That's still a lot more power than this one is.
For sure, yeah.
And you can tell just, I don't even want to look at it because it is like, it's literally like looking at the sun, but I mean, I think it's strong.
Yeah, I mean, this room here is probably, you know, about a 30 by 30 square. Something like this can actually cover the entire room. Again, it's using that same type of LED, the same type of lens, a really incredible wash, almost about 80 degrees of coverage. And so you shine this on the room, maybe have your stage like that. Now you have UV through the area. And once again, they're very lightweight. They run on just regular power, so you could just plug them into it. But the great thing about this, Brandon, is since it is LED, something with this kind of power, usually you would need with a UV fixture that was a discharge. So it used a discharge lamp, a gas discharge lamp.
Yeah.
So you would have to wait for the warm up. When you would see kind of like a dim until it came on. Like this, you have an instant UV light, which is also DMX controllable. So if I wanted to do strobing, if I wanted to do dimming on the fly, I can now do it with this. So just an absolute incredible fixture. And for UV fixtures, we have many different types, from long bars that are great in bowling alleys, tent parties that wash the whole tent with UV. Our Eco UV bars are great for that. We have the Canon. for something for a long throw with wide coverage, where you want to just see the UV pop in the whole entire area, this is great. So many different types of UV products that are out there, from ADJ, that will more than accomplish all of your UV needs.
So now you said it was kind of holiday lighting. How would I use this in a holiday setting? If would this be something that I would want for like my, or is there other features to it that would be useful in that kind of setting?
Yeah, so going on that, this is a great opportunity to where, like I was saying, you can have this throughout the year. If you're doing the UV parties, things like that, it's great to have. UV is still a nice color to use. It's not bad. You can use it pretty much in any kind of light show. But for Halloween, if I was trying to book a Halloween gig, now I can just do a little bit of research, go to a party store, find some of that UV paint, things like that. Because all of that stuff, it washes off. But if I was going to do a backyard party or something like that, and I want to make the backyard just really, really shine for my client, I could say, hey, I can go back there and draw pumpkins. I could do this kind of thing. I can draw the name if it's a birthday party to be around that time. And with the UV light, now you're going to see that shine.
All the UV kind of stuff. You know what else is cool? And that's being able to repurpose these lights. As musicians, sure, that's probably how some of us get our livelihood or what have you, or maybe we're hobbyists and we just want lights for effect. But we could turn these for things like Halloween or a haunted house or Christmas decorations. That you're not going to find powerful lights like this at your neighborhood department store. You really got to kind of dive in and find the lights that would work for something like this. But it seems like you would get way more power out of something like this than anything you would find in just your local store.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So yeah, that's where UV is really taking off, and that's why we have many different types of fixtures for whatever kind of need. We have something that will satisfy.
So what's the next thing we're going to be talking about? We've kind of hit except for this guy.
Yeah, so this is our IKON LED, which is a gobo projecting LED. This uses a 60 watt LED source, so very, very powerful. And don't think the camera can get around to, but you will see the power that this has. Very, very punchy. And for gobos, you'll notice here I have my hanging bracket. We have this in our, it's very easy to take down, it's very lightweight. But if I turn this around, you'll notice on the front, my area where I can change my gobos. So I can change my gobos on the fly.
Like right now it says ADJ, but you could change it to say kind of anything you want.
And what's really popular now is guys are getting real savvy with how to make their own gobos using their printers at home. If they're using kind of like a film, they print out whatever they want to project and they pop that in there. It's real easy. This already comes with gobos, so you can actually get the size that you need to cut. And there's many different gobo makers out in the market looking for a steel gobo. If you're not familiar with gobos, the way gobos work is you have a steel gobo. So since this has one 60 watt LED source, it's a white LED source. So if you use a steel gobo, it's going to project through in just that white color. Now the second type of gobo you can use is a glass gobo. And now a glass gobo, that's usually a little bit more money, but you can actually get really, really creative with that. If it's a company logo that you wanted to use, that maybe like our ADJ that has some red, white, and yellow, if I did that on a glass gobo, they can actually etch the colors onto the glass gobo. So when it projects through that white, you're going to see all those colors on there.
And it seems like that'd be a cool feature if you were a wedding DJ, or even like you just said, like hosting company events where you could put the company logo or the name of the people getting married or anything like that, and just kind of add that special touch to it that everybody kind of likes to see when you go to those events, especially weddings. I feel like those would be huge at weddings, because you could set it up to be so-and-so's wedding or the blank wedding or what have you, and really kind of have that extra touch that you
exactly. And that's exactly what it does. It adds that extra touch. If you're going to a hotel, if you go to a generic hotel, you walk in and you know which hotel you're at. But some of the more fancy hotels, their gobo of the name rotating in the entrance as you walk in. That just gives me a feeling of like, wow, this is special. They care about that.
It makes it feel like they take it, even if it's just something as little as a gobo light. But it's just like, it's theatrics, man. And you're like, oh, they took it. They've got this thing going on, especially at like a wedding. When you see a DJ who has solid lighting at a wedding, it's impressive.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's the guy that he recommendation from the bride or what have you, because his extracurricular activities beat the next guys, you know, and that having lights and stuff like that, I think, is a huge touch.
Yeah, exactly. The gobos are simple to find. If it's Happy New Year, usually the you know, you got to get those cut, get those done. But just like you said, adding that touch is just incredible, and it just creates so much more excitement in the room seeing something like that.
Absolutely.
That's personable.
So that's a gobo light. We know an LED gobo light, right?
Yeah.
So these things are the ones that I'm kind of interested in because they look like robots and they look like, you know, I feel like I'm on the side of a ship or something using them as a weapon. So what are we looking at here?
All right, so here I'll just name the products that we have. This is the Inno Color Beam Z7, and this is the Inno Spot Pro Pearl. And last over there we have the Inno Beam LED. Now this is one of our terms, which, you know, is DMX, DMX controlling. It's a protocol control lighting. So a lot of these lights will have built-in programs. You'll notice right now, I'm not really doing anything. If I disconnected DMX, matter of fact, I'll just do that real quick, so you can see what'll happen.
They all rebelled.
Yeah, so this is right
Skynet.
now. This is what's nice about the ADJ products. What we'll do is we'll put some nice shows that are already built in. So with a little bit of sound, they'll actually dance around and do all of that.
So that's what we were talking about earlier. Where that thing is bright, by the way. That's what we were talking about earlier when we were talking about sound chasing, right?
Yeah.
Now that's like they were reacting to the clapping or what have you, because then that's what the show, internal show's programmed to do. But what else can these things do?
Yeah, so with DMX, so for example, we'll start with this one here. I'm going to walk over to my controller since I do have it connected. And my Z7, let's see here. So I can tilt that. Now what's nice about this is a fixture that actually has zoom capability. So on the lens, you'll notice there it's a pretty tight 10-degree beam angle. And check this out. I'll open that up, and that opens up to a 60-degree beam wash. So let's see, I'll do a different color here. So actually, I'll turn all the LEDs on so you can see all the color and power. And once again, I'll do that zoom, and you can see that opening and closing.
So with what features of the light can you control?
Pretty much you have pan and tilt, and with moving heads, typically you have your pan, your tilt.
So pan is, I assume, left to right.
Yeah.
Tilt is up and down.
Yeah, and then you'll also have a fine pan, so where you could almost use it like a follow spot. If you were moving from right to left, then you wanted to just adjust it a little bit. Let's say it was a singer and they were just moving around, performing. You can use the fine pan to move around a little bit, because the regular pan will give you some larger control and larger movements. So that's where it's nice to use the pan and fine pan, as well as tilt and then fine tilt for smaller little movements.
So basically, you have the wide, or that's the pan and the tilt, and then fine pan is just like a little bit. Fine tilt's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can control how it moves. What else can you control?
Color that's coming out of it.
Okay.
And so
probably a pretty important feature to control, I would assume.
For sure. And that's one of the nice things about this. You'll notice that the LEDs are very similar to the Par that we have here. So this is actually do color mixing. So color mixing is when you see a red, and once again, you know, it's transforming to a green or to a blue, a yellow, a magenta, all of that. Color mixing is accomplishable with the Inno Color Beam Z7, just because those LEDs are all inside of these lenses, so you don't actually see colors separating or anything like that. You see the whole color mixing happening.
Now I know you can make this actually flip around, because it just blinded me just a second ago. What's the feature called when it's kind of a 360? Is that still pan and tilt?
Yeah, that's a combination of pan and tilt. And
so the pan isn't just like left to right, it's like the whole kind of frame of wherever.
Yeah, this will have 540 degrees of panning capability, which is just awesome, because You could be spinning it around, move the head up a little bit, and with just imagine with that zoom capability, you almost have that kind of hybrid searchlight effect.
Yeah.
Put these on the ground, have them shooting straight up. You have a beam, then it opens to a wash. It looks really, really cool. And so, yeah, with DMX, the pan and tilt, the color that you're using with this, your zoom from 10 to 60 degrees, and as well as some nice features that are built into the light. So if I didn't want to, let's say I had this mounted 14 feet high or 20 feet high on my rig, and I didn't want to go up there and if I wanted to run them in sound mode, there's a feature on there where I can activate the sound mode.
Just turn off DMX completely.
Yeah.
That works. That works nice. And again, this thing isn't burning too hot.
No.
I mean, it's a moving fixture, but it's heavy. Like it feels, I mean, it doesn't feel, you know, like a 900-pound one. So that's always. I like the Stormtrooper white one. What's different about it?
So this is the Inno Spot Pro. And now with the Inno Spot Pro, just like its name, you'll get a lot of questions. You know, lighting guys might have questions. Which moving head is right for me? There's heads that are on the market, but with just the ADJ brand, we have the 3 different types of moving heads that you'll need for any kind of, you know, lighting gig you're doing. So once again, we had our zoom fixture here, which had a 10-degree beam to a 60-degree wash. Now we have our spot fixture. So with the Inno Spot,
That's cool. It looks like 2 planets.
yeah.
Sorry.
So with this, you have your actual spot, where now with gobos, you pretty much have a moving head gobo projector. So this will have a gobo wheel, which already has multiple gobos on the wheel. So with DMX or in the standalone modes, you can actually see, you know, the gobos changing because that wheel is circulating from right to left.
And those are all controllable with the my DMX.
And with this, you also do have separate color and gobo wheels. It's nice because you can have a gobo and you can make it any color you want. So that's great because, like with this, what I was mentioning about those glass, with something like this, if I had a gobo that I wanted to, I can have it be red, I can have it be a split color if I wanted, which is, you know, stopping the red to the blue and, you know, right in the middle, so I can split the color. So that's what's great about this.
Seems like it's kind of like that little guy, but on steroids, where it can point anywhere and all kind of include.
Yeah, and what's great about it too, since it is a moving head, you know, an image might not look the same when you're projecting 10 feet away or 30 feet away. With this, you actually have automated focus that I can control with DMX. I needed to focus it a little bit more at a shorter throw versus a longer throw. I could do that simply on the board, so that way the gobo always looks sharp and clean.
So this go in it, and that's kind of the main difference between them. What's this guy here, this big guy?
All right, so this is the fixture. This is the attention getter, pretty much. This is the Inno Beam LED, and with this, you'll notice it's the tighter red beam that you're seeing on the ground there. This has a very, very, very tight beam, which makes for, with a combination of an 80-watt LED, you get an incredible throw out of it. So you put this at top of the stage, you put this on the ground, you're doing the searchlight effect, or you're just trying to reach across the room that you're lighting up. This really, really is an attention getter just because it's so powerful and so with a little bit of fog or haze, which we'll talk about in just a second, with this, you're seeing that beam almost like a lightsaber just going across the room. Effect going over the audience, onto the crowd. It also has which a prism effect is when you have an image and it'll open it up. Some of them, like this fixture here, have a 3-facet prism, which will take your gobo and open it up into 3. This one here has a 6-facet prism. So it actually takes a gobo and multiplies it, so that way you see kind of like a warped tunnel effect. And what's great about that, since it does have a tight beam, when you open it into a prism, you project that on a bit of fog, you see such an awesome kind of tunnel effect.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a pretty cool effect.
Yeah.
What, you know, you keep mentioning fog. What's the big benefit of fog aside from, you know, is it just pop, or does fog really, is it really necessary for every show?
I'd say, you know, in a perfect world, I would wish that I could always use haze, but, you know, there are venues that you might go to and with certain fire codes that don't allow fog or haze. So that's one of the benefits about when you're going to select a moving head, what kind of moving head you're going to select.
Probably having one that's a little bit more multiverse that can survive without fog, just in case you get put into that position.
Exactly.
Because I do agree that every time you see the lights going with fog, it's way better. But I was always, as a performer, I didn't like the fog because it always made me have this nasty feeling in my throat.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you get that on the request of the performer if you're a lighting guy, but sometimes like fire code, building doesn't like it, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it would be good to have a fixture that, of course, it's going to perform great in fog, but it's great to see it like right now what it's capable of, because that'll tell you how it's going to perform when there's no fog. It's kind of the most crucial point, I think, is because, you know, that's when you want to make sure everything's working right, when you don't have the cover of the to enhance your lighting.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. When you're in the market for a fog machine or a haze machine, just things to know. If you're going to be in a venue where you know it's okay to use fog and you want your lights to look great, I definitely recommend a fogger that can quickly fog a room and have smoke everywhere and make the lights look awesome. And one thing to keep in mind with a lot of our foggers, pretty much all of our foggers now, I'm sorry, they're all water-based. They all use water-based fluid, which is a lot easier on your breathing. You don't feel like you have like an asthma attack or anything like that.
Gunk in your throat or anything like that.
Yeah, so it's very clean, and the smoke, since it is water-based, it'll make the effect. It'll last in the room long enough, and in the night when you want the fog to go away, it goes away very quickly. So very great to use, you know, high-powered. Even some of our more economical fog machines, just to get that nice look out of your lights, so it looks great. If it's okay, then try to use as much fog as you can, because it just makes the lights look better. Now, in a room, let's say I was doing a wedding or maybe even a show where I had performers, a lot of times you don't want to use high-powered fog because fog's going to hit on the stage and you're not going to see anything anymore. You're not going to see a performer, you're not going to see the bride and groom, you're not going to see certain things that, you know, are important to view at a show. So that's where I would recommend actually a haze machine, where it actually works a little bit different than a fog, because it's set to just ease out the fog or the haze just enough so you can see the beams, you can see whatever you're using without really making a thick smoke in the air. So there's great haze machines that we have. One of the next ones is our phase machine, which is a combination of fog and haze. We have a phaser called a Fog Fury Phase.
I was going to say, it sounded like some sort of Star Trek device, your phase machine.
Yeah.
Continue.
It's awesome. But yeah, so it comes with a remote where you can actually control how much you put in. If it's thick, if it's thinner, if it's strong, you can control all of that now with just one machine. So yeah, once again, you know, it just depends on the kind of event that you're doing. If it's fog, definitely use a high-powered fogger, light-duty fogger for like a backyard or something like that. If it's a large venue, if it's a big show, I'll recommend a haze machine, just so that the haze is set. You're seeing the nice colors, you're seeing the gobos all throughout the venue. And if mobile lighting guy and you're not sure event, you know, or what kind of venue, you know, if it's a venue where high school gym, then I'll just crank the Fog Fury Phase, you know, so that it can
let it go.
Yeah, so it could just do the whole gym. If it's like a smaller room, you know, kind of intimate, where they just want to see a beam of light on a performer, use the haze part of it. So yeah, there's just really 3 different types of machines that you're going to want to look for: just a fog, haze, and then a phase. And while we're talking about machines, you know, we also do make bubble machines, which are great. We have different types of bubbles, which you can just project, you know, or, you know, send out bubbles all throughout the room. We also have VF Flurry, which is a snow machine. So if you haven't checked out the VF Flurry, definitely check it out. It's a snow machine.
How does it make the snow? Is it a fluid that it uses, or do you just put in water?
Yeah, it's a special kind of snow fluid, and it just goes into the machine just like a regular fog machine. It comes with a remote, so when you want snow in the room, you just hit that. Just especially since the holiday season is coming up, Even when you win the lottery, it's nice to have snow in your room.
Yeah.
Like you probably saw in the commercial, but it's just a great effect.
Or if you live in California and you've probably never seen snow.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good
if
point.
You live in we're saying snow, and you're like, what exactly is this snow that you speak of? So yeah, it would even be cool, you know, to be in a place like this where it's hot, and you could use the snow for effect for a holiday party or something like that.
Exactly. So that's where having many different types of machines for what any kind of event that you're doing, just like with lighting, it's up lighting, gobo project. It's nice to know things out there. You know, if it's fog, if it's bubble, so you can pretty much make anything happen and create any kind of, you know, atmosphere. It's so important when you're doing lighting or doing events, because then you give that the person or the audience the feeling that they're actually in it, and it just makes a much better show.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more. So, you know, we've kind of covered light. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we move over to some Q&A? We could take some questions from the YouTube chat room if you guys feel like asking some questions. But before we go into that, is there any last little tidbits we need to cover before we move on?
Yeah, as far as, you know, when you're doing lighting, I know a lot of times you might get asked the question if you have insurance for your equipment. It's getting asked more and more commonly with, you know, like, I guess hotel banquet halls, things like that. And it's good to know that there are companies out there. If you Google lighting insurance, there are things out there where you could do that. So very popular in the country is the ADJ, which is the American Disc Jockey Association. Out with getting insurance, I've heard stories where guys are losing gigs because they don't have insurance for their equipment. So if you guys don't have insurance already, I definitely recommend it. It's just something to have, that be sure that you're going to be able to book any kind of event that you're going to be doing.
And not just lighting insurance, man. I can't count how many friends that I've had that were on tour that had their vans stolen or broken into, and they lose thousands of dollars in gear. And you know, if that's your livelihood, you don't just go out and spend 10 grand on gear and call yourself a DJ. You build it up over time, and so you're not 10 grand worth of gear. You're losing however much time that it took you to build up all that stuff. Having that insurance is as a fallback. It's better to need it than need it.
Yeah. So that's really it.
Unfortunately, people steal, so it's like, you know, you're never going to get around that. It's not. It's just better to take preventative to avoid those situations.
Yeah. So other than that, insurance. We covered pretty much everything. You know, the different types of terms that you might hear when it comes to lighting, whether it's beams, washes, uplighting, gobo projecting, pretty much everything like that.
And I think we definitely hit the A to Z checklist.
Great.
So we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. If anybody has any, feel free to YouTube chat, and our man Jose, who's manning the cameras, will yell them out for us so that we can answer them. I think we had a couple come down, and did.
We have Steve Bendoka, and he asks, what kind of controller are you using?
What kind of controller are you using to plug the software that you guys have?
Yeah, so the software I'm using is the software from ADJ. It's MyDMX 2, and it's a lighting control software that you install into your computer. It's PC and Mac compatible, so it doesn't matter what format you're using. Windows 8 compatible, Windows XP compatible, everything like that. So
it's compatible.
Exactly, and it's very, very easy. I prefer software. You know, the majority of my work now is done on a computer, so if I'm programming my lights on a computer also, it's just to have the visuals makes it a lot easier for me.
We're a very visual thing that I like about your software over like a hard board is that it tells you what features you're messing with when you got it right in front of you, instead of being on the board and you move a fader. Oh, that's what that does. You move the fader. Like on this one, it just does it for you, and it tells you what you're using. Not to mention you can have so many more channels than what an 8 fader board will give you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You have a universe of control, which is 512 DMX channels. And just to give you an idea of how many lights that can control, these two lights here use up 15 channels, as well as this one. So that's 45 channels of DMX. Then you panel fixture here for red, green, blue, and amber. So you're still not even close to 100 DMX channels. With the MyDMX 2.0, you get 512.
Yeah, I mean,
DMX
you have 4
control.
features and you're barely over 10% of what it can control, so it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Jose, what's our next question, sir?
All right, we have PP444 asks, what would you do Justin Bieber in a warehouse filled with ADJ products?
What would you do if you met Justin Bieber in a warehouse full of...
I'd ask him if he wanted me to revive his career.
Is MyDMX 3.0 coming out soon, or 3D?
What's the release date looking like for MyDMX 3.0? Because you guys are on 2.0 right now.
Yeah, 2.0 is going to be around a while. It was the ultimate upgrade to the original MyDMX. MyDMX 2.0 adds things like the scene builder, which is great ways to add movement to your lights, as well as and LEDs, so you can have generated effects. But one good thing to know about the MyDMX 2.0 is the software is free. If you go onto ADJ.com, just look up MyDMX 2.0 and you can download the software so you can kind of get familiar with it on your computer. Pretty much all you're paying for is the interface that talks to all of your lights. So definitely check it out. There's going to be updates. There's always updates on the MyDMX.
The last time that we did this with you guys, we did it actually focusing on the MyDMX software. And that was one thing that I really like to hear, is that you guys are constantly updating it, not just with what new fixtures came out on your guys' end, but across the board. And it'll tell you, oh, you have this other this other fixture from this other manufacturer, and it'll map out its settings in your software, which to me impressed me, because it really shows that you guys care about the execution instead of caring about, like, no, we want you to use our lights. You just want an effective solution for people to be able to use, and that's actually really impressive.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep in mind, for all you MyDMX 2.0 users, the 3D visualizer is nearly complete, which is going to be a great way for you to visualize the room that you're going to be setting up for, maybe showing to your clients, or getting an idea before you go into the event to set up your lights and see exactly how it's going to look. So that 3D visualizer, I'm waiting for it too, so I can't wait for that.
Jose, what's our next question, sir?
Tim King asks, is ADJ Ultra Hex Bar to go with the Ultra Hex Par?
Are we gonna ADJ gonna make an bar to go with the Ultra Hex Par?
That is a great question. I mean, in our history, we make a par, we make a bar. Impossible. I do kind of know the answer, but if you want to wait till LDI, we always have things in the works, and that's a great question. I'm glad people asked that, because a difference between a bar and a bar, you actually get more coverage. Fitting this onto a glass, but if I was washing a wall, I would want to use a bar. So yeah, definitely I'd say that a bar would be in the works, and it's definitely going to be needed.
So we got time for probably 2 or 3 more. Jose?
Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have a lot of holiday parties. How do I make my own gobos?
A lot of holiday parties, my own gobos.
So we touched on that a little bit earlier. If you wanted to make gobos, you can find source.com. Any kind of gobo you're looking for, you can get that cut and made. Steel or glass gobos. And I haven't done too much, but there are ways that, like I was saying, you can use a printer with some film, and you can pretty much gobos, just depending of the gobo projector that you're using.
Great. Jose?
What is your favorite light program, specifically you?
Well, that wouldn't be for me because I don't have any experience, but what is your favorite light to...
Wow. Right now, I'd have to say 2, because I don't want to make the other. But it's between the 362R, which is our moving head fixture with 2R lamps in it. It's just awesome. But our newest fixture that just came out is called an Illusion Dotz, which is a 4x4 panel on a moving yoke. Between two of those.
When you say yoke, I immediately think egg. So when you say yoke, what's a yoke?
Yeah, this is the yoke on here. So this is what go from left to right. And also.
See, I would call that a holder.
Yeah. No, that's the yoke, moving yoke. But yeah, both of those fixtures, Illusion Dotz, 362R. No, there's a third one. Favorites, but it's a new Par can that we have. It's called a 5. It's a very compact little Par. It has red, green, blue, white, amber, and UV. If you come to any of our trade shows, I'm going to be using that because I want to see UV truss. I want to see red truss. Just yeah, so
Pretty crazy.
I can keep going.
I'm sure you got a big crush on light. Next question.
Let's see. Well, they're actually wanted to see the sniper behind you guys, but we got to stick to ADJ stuff. And they also want to see a geyser style fog machine.
Well, you know, ADJ is a group of companies, and one of our companies is Antari, and I know that it does make a fogger that is, you know, in that style. So look up Antari, and you'll find the fogger that you're looking for.
Yeah, there's an Antari fogger behind us here that you guys can't see. The size of like a diesel. If you guys needed a geyser, that's probably the you'd find to being able to reproduce one. So, Jose.
Well, what is going to give you better colors, a COB or a tri-quad LED?
Better colors, a COB or a tri-quad LED?
Yeah, so the tri-quad is something like we showed here, which has great color mixing. You see the actual diodes and all the cells in here for color mixing. It's great if you're projecting onto a wall. And but we did say that the LED, because of the larger lens, actually gives you better because of all those little chips that are in there. When it's switching from red, green to blue, you just see a lot smoother color mixing. I would say these two are definitely better than if you're using old-fashioned or first-generation type of LED bars and pars, which are using the 10mm LEDs, where you see a whole bunch of reds, greens, and blues.
Yeah.
You're going to get color mixing, better color mixing, either our quads and tris, but definitely the best would be the COB LEDs.
Great question. You got time for one more, sir?
Sure, they just want to see if they can show the zoom capability of the Z7.
Sure. Hang on one second.
That's all you, Edgar.
So here we go.
So maybe let's point it at the floor and kind of show. I know you can Skynet
maybe you
it.
can kind of tilt it down a little bit. It's the far left one over here.
This one?
This one. Yeah.
Learn the difference between left and right.
So there, if you can kind of go on the ground. And we'll open that up.
And that goes from like a 3 foot, like a 8-inch circle to, I mean, that's like a 5.5, 6 sphere.
Yep.
Pretty impressive. Skynet program, man. It's just you could set up like a Halloween thing and just have a guy sitting behind a DMX, flashing lights on and scaring people.
Yeah.
That'd be the best job ever. So, well, Edgar, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you spreading. ADJ, thanks for having us here. My name is Brandon with Guitar Center, and this has been a Music Mentor Series. Thanks for hanging out.